Okay, so I am Lindsay. I am the program supervisor for home visitation for the Northeast and Southeast spokes with Families Matter. So today, like Mike was saying, we're just here to give you an understanding of how we're currently operating, what to expect during our shift to the FRN, and also, of course, during COVID times. So I'm hoping this will give you an understanding of this, and if you have any clients that you're hoping to refer to us, this might help you give them a better idea of how we do our intake and how they come to our program to ease any worries they might have there. So at each of the locations, both Northeast and Southeast, we currently have 3 full-time staff that are serving those areas. So families that we have coming to us, we are serving families prenatally with children, target children up to 6 years of age. A lot of our referrals actually right now are self-referral. So they are calling in themselves, whether they have been a previous client, they might have accessed one of our other programs before. So we have a lot of self-referrals coming in, which is great. We also have some internal referrals. So if they're engaged in one of our other programs, taking a class from us, they've attended our drop-in before, one of the staff from that program might inform them about our home visitation program and send their information our way. And then other agencies outside, external referrals, public health nurses are a big source of referrals for us. If the kids are getting their vaccinations or out having a discussion with the public health nurse and mention some struggles with behaviors or wanting to learn more about child development, they could get referred to us that way. Access mental health is a big one. Postpartum community services we're seeing is a large source of our referrals. Our postpartum program that we have at Families Matter is quite well known, so a lot of referrals come through for them, and then sometimes upon further discussion with the parent, we find out that it's actually maybe a toddler that's causing some challenges at home, or some parents need some more information on the toddler instead of the baby. So we will work with the whole family to understand what's going on. So they often end up with us. Children's services still, if there's an assessor going in and they don't actually open a referral or open up a file, they may refer to a community agency. So we often get those. And also when they're closing files, it can be a great transition into the community. We have a lot of services to offer, and that ongoing learning about child development, positive discipline, healthy attachment, all of that. So we will take those files. And then other community agencies, a lot of rural communities, the families are moving from a rural area to Calgary, they'll come to us. And when they are coming to us, the worker can attend an intake with them, or is welcome to come to see our location with the client so they can feel comfortable and that handoff can be as smooth as possible. And also, I should say, for other agencies referring to us, we do have a referral form. So if anyone needs that, we are happy to send that out to you, and then you can fill it out for your family and send it to us. So a bit about the intake process. If the referral came in from the client themselves, then the intake staff will connect with them and understand just what's going on, what are the strengths in the family, what's a struggle right now, what other professionals do they have in their lives. It's really important for us to get this information to make sure we are working collaboratively with any other agencies involved, and that we're not just overwhelming the family with more services that might be covered elsewhere. It's really important for us to connect with those professionals at some point to make sure that we are all supporting the family the best way possible. If there was a professional referral made, if the client is choosing to engage in the services, we may connect with that professional referral to get any additional information we think would be pertinent to take to triage. If the family just chooses not to be with us, we will often let the professional know, just a heads up, they chose to decline services at this time, just so we can make sure they're not just kind of left hanging on their own after that. Once per week, the supervisors and the intake staff will meet to triage all the families. At this time, thankfully, we have no wait list, so we are not having to hold services for anybody, and we're able to place them right away. But when that does happen, we review families each week to see where the greatest need is, We're checking in on those families to make sure that they are still kind of doing okay in the meantime. Our families are assigned on a Thursday, and so by the following Monday, the worker has that information and is able to reach out to the family. Like I said, we're serving the Northeast and Southeast families. There are exceptions to that. A lot of families we have pre-FRN, we are still holding on to. And if there's families that have a relationship with Families Matter, they've attended classes or were a previous client and they're quite adamant they want to stay with us, we want to do what's best for them. And if we were to send a family to another quadrant, if their program was at capacity and they weren't able to take the family right away, we don't want that gap in service if we can prevent it. So then we would consider supporting that family as well. So once the family is assigned to a worker, we look at our first 6 weeks as an information gathering period, our assessment time, and that is really to let the family get to know the worker they're going to be spending quite a lot of time with, and for the worker to get a really full picture of what's happening with the family. So through that, there's a lot of just listening to the family, engagement, relationship building, hopefully meeting the children. If there's another parent in the house, we want to make sure we're meeting them as well if possible. We can be quite flexible with our timing. We are available to meet in the evenings or occasionally on a weekend if we can accommodate a working parent. And through those 6 weeks, we are looking at a variety of tools. We look at an eco map to see what are the natural and professional supports that are involved at this time, and also the quality of the relationships involved. We want to understand where are some people that you can rely on and where are the stressors coming from. The Family Star is a really important tool for us and that we refer to frequently throughout service. That one really is a working document with the family. And that one looks at 10 domains of the family and where are they struggling and where are they really strong and how do we help them celebrate those successes, and then how do we help them kind of grow that visual representation of what's happening for them. So there we're looking at employment of the family, we're looking at boundaries and behaviors, their emotional regulation, ability to meet the physical and emotional needs of their children. So that's a pretty comprehensive tool that we will use with the family. We're looking at domestic violence screening. The ASQs are a really big part of our work to help the family understand that optimal child development and how to reach those goals. We've been pretty fortunate to be able to bring in some tools that the families might need to complete those questionnaires, or if there is an area or domain that the child is struggling in, we're often able to support with tools we can bring into the home to encourage that while we're there and then after we're gone. So based on all of those tools and many more, we are going to set goals with the family and revisit those every 3 months. That is to help us stay on track as staff and help the families really see those small successes that are occurring each month that we are with them. So at every 3 months, we'll revisit the goals, kind of look back at that star and see where we're growing, how we can change those goals if needed. A lot of times they're staying pretty consistent throughout service, and we are just, seeing how we can keep moving forward. All of our staff are influenced by strengthening families, nurturing parenting, circle of security, positive discipline and everyday parenting, and a lot more, but this is really the lens that we come from when we're approaching a family. Something that I think is really special to our program is that we don't have to follow a specific curriculum or, set of rules that we're abiding by based on a certain program, but we can really individualize the program to the family. So if we see something, we pull from different programs, we use videos and experiential activities. We're able, like Mike was saying, to go to the park with the families and really experience and observe in real time what's happening, and then do a lot of modeling and coaching and supporting and debriefing, encouraging reflection. So it's really, really individualized to the family and what they're looking for. Throughout service, we also have we are so lucky to be able to provide our in-home clients specifically with programming that is just for them. So you'll hear a lot about our FLE program next, but we have some programs that are just for those that are receiving in-home service or transitioning out of in-home service. And that really allows for the participants to be able to debrief that with their own staff, their one-to-one worker. All of our workers are aware of the classes and are experienced in that, so it allows for some further information and integration of that learning. And they're also in programs in those classes with people that are receiving service, so they all kind of know what each other is going through to some level, and it gives them a sense of security to chat about those strengths and struggles in the group setting, and allows for some social interaction, which is really amazing to get right now. And then supporting wraparound service with other agencies and programs. So like I said, we were really big on collaboration. We really want to make sure that every other agency, including ourselves, are meaningful in the lives of these clients, and that they really know who's doing what. I think nothing's worse than when you have so many people coming into your home and you don't remember who's from what and who's doing what. So our goal is really to make sure that we have, not necessarily more supports, but really good supports. And then how do we support them to kind of navigate through those systems on their own so that they feel equipped to access them once they're no longer an in-home client with us. So when we are getting ready to end service with a client, we are hopefully able to do that transition plan. So like I said, we revisit the goals every 3 months with the client. And when we're feeling like we're mutually ready to kind of shift out of services, we will be looking at how do we make this transition smooth and seamless, so it's not going from weekly in-home visits to all of a sudden no one's coming anymore. So often for our last 3 months, we try to start to slowly taper off the visits, meeting every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We want to make sure that the resourcing is all done so they know exactly how to access programs through us, where they're going to next, how they can access agencies in the community, or even the library, how they can do basic needs on their own. So we really are always preparing for this moment. From the time we open a file, we are preparing for how are they going to be successful after we close them. We do a final summary with our family, so just really highlighting all of the things that we accomplished over the period of time we had to work together. That's really good for them to see. They get to see their star, their visual representation grow. We do posts of all of the assessments we did in the first 6 weeks of service, so they can also see all those successes, and it's really about the celebration piece of all that they've accomplished. We definitely do have some families that withdraw early from service. They may kind of drop off. They may have other things that come up that are more important and pressing at the time. We always make sure we let families know that they are welcome to come back at any time, and that they can come back for in-home services, which we've often had another child's born. They go through kind of a significant life stress, and we're kind of fortunate to be the place that they've come back to. So they recognize us as a safe place for them. What we're finding so far is engaged clients that are meeting with us consistently on that weekly basis are ready to close after about 12 to 15 months of service. I think that kind of goes back to our triage team and our intake team. We're quite in depth with those meetings, and we really want to make sure that we get the clients that are in the right place coming through our doors so they can feel successful in this program. So clients who are, for instance, seeking housing, maybe don't have their kids living at home with them at the time, are struggling with some addiction struggles, those clients would not be kind of our ideal client at the time. We want to make sure that they have those resources that they can engage in, get to a place where they feel comfortable and ready to engage in parenting, and that's kind of our perfect time to come in. So I think that helps us see that 12 to 15 month mark. Definitely there's some that are staying with us longer than that, and some, after 6 or 9 months are ready to move on. It'll be interesting to see what happens with COVID kind of throwing things off a little bit. So I'm not sure if that will still be consistent with us this year, but that is what we've been seeing so far. And how we're working. So we've always done weekly visits with our in-home home visitation team. And so we're still keeping that up weekly as much as possible. We've been able to pretty quickly transition to using Zoom or FaceTime, WhatsApp, whatever the client is comfortable with. I would say phone is something that we don't use as often for our actual visits. Clients prefer Zoom. But most clients, I would say more than 85% of our clients are wanting that face-to-face. So we're getting to meet in parks. We've been lucky to take advantage of the summer weather and be outside with them, getting out for walks, meeting in a soccer field. And we do have some clients and staff who are comfortable meeting at home. So we're just making sure we're taking all the safety precautions possible: masks, gloves, sanitizer, Lysol, being really aware of the social distancing, and then doing screenings on yourself. So making sure the client is feeling well before we go in their home, making sure our staff is feeling well before they go in the home, and really just checking in on that very regularly. And that has just been really important for us to continue doing to meet the needs of our clients. Of course, during this time as well, we've seen a huge increase in the need for basic needs: food, diapers, formula, school supplies, things like that. So we're very fortunate to have been able to provide quite a lot for our families and continue to do that, which won't be able to last forever, but we're trying to take advantage of it while we can. So that's been able to help our families a great deal. And then again, I spoke to our collaboration, but we are really big into making sure that we are attending other meetings with other professionals that might be involved. We want to make sure that everyone is a familiar face at the table. So knowing what other agencies are doing, how we can support them, how we can collaborate, and make the parent feel the most supported. And then I also have our contact information here. So again, Kaylee is our intake worker in the North office. Michaela is our intake worker at the South office. And then my contact information is there. These two ladies are the ones that you'll speak to if you call in, but there's definitely times where I will jump in on an intake with one of them if you want to do it in person. Professionals are welcome to come to those intake meetings with the parent. We just want to make the transition as smooth as possible for everyone. So if there's any other questions that you have, I'm happy to answer them, or please feel free to reach out anytime and we can chat further.
So if anyone has questions for Lindsay, we'll just wait a minute, and otherwise we'll move on to the next one in a minute.
So I do see one here. So EcoMap is, I can send you a template if you're interested in seeing what it's like, but it's really putting the family at the in the middle of the circle. And then from that, what are their natural supports? Who do they have surrounding them? And we can actually create this really beautiful visual of all the people they have in their lives. And a lot of times this is, they feel unsupported. They feel like they don't have anybody to call when things are really hard. When in fact, we go through this exercise and we list who would you call, who are your friends, who was the last person you texted, we go through all these people. Tell me about your family. What agencies have you been involved with? And we create this visual representation of all the people they have in their lives. And sometimes this is a great reminder that when things are hard, you do have a lot of people surrounding you. That's not always the case. There is definitely situations where it's like, wow, this is an area where I really want to work hard to develop some new relationships. And that would be feeding into our goals. So if we notice that the EcoMap is looking more sparse, or it's not as strong as they want it to be, then how do we connect you to other agencies? How do we connect you to programming? Do we do a drop-in where there's other parents? We want to just really create those connections for the parents because we know how powerful that is. In that, we also assess the strength of the relationships. So do you have really healthy relationships around you? Do you not? Do you know what a healthy relationship is? Is that where we start talking about what do you like or not like about these relationships? So yeah, it's a whole exercise we can go through, and I'm happy to connect with you after and show you how we do that.
Yeah, I'd love that, Lindsay.
Okay, yeah, that's great. I will take note of your info here. And then the Family Star assessment as well is one of our primary assessment tools, and it's super in-depth actually, and we can chat a little bit more about that, and I can show you what we use, but it's a really great way to allow the family to see kind of where they're starting, and it's really shaped like a star with 10 points on it, and we go through each of those points and discuss, it's just not a talking points. How do you feel you're doing with this? And it's a scaling system. And so where are you now? And we both have input into that, and we can, discuss what we've seen as workers and what they're seeing as the parent. And then we settle on a number, and then we come back to it frequently. How do you think we did in this area? Do you think we increased capacity there? And for them to see that star grow over time is super meaningful for them. And it's kind of different than just like a checkbox like completed. It's you see that gradual change over time. So those are the two tools, but we can chat more about that.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Welcome. So as far as the question about translators, we don't have any translators that we work with, but CWA would probably be our closest referral source that we would go to if we're struggling with this. So CWA is my only suggestion. I'm not sure, Mike, if you have someone else that you would suggest as well.
Yeah, I think that's the main one. And depending on which cultural community they belong to, I know we've referred to the Punjabi Association. Yeah, I feel like COA would be the main one.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for the questions. If you have anything else, please feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to chat more about that.